So all of those reasons kind of culminated into why we started Northern Perspective. And so we started the channel and we were completely anonymous, save for some two terrible animated cartoon characters that functioned as us. And we figured, well, we can't just go on there as Ryan and Tanya. So we came up with some monikers. And I think Tanya's is relatively simple. You can explain it.
I just love red foxes. I think they're brilliant.
So there you go.
It's
Fair
very
enough.
basic, but
Yep.
And she had another kind of combo nickname that she had on some of her mobile games that was like that. But for mine, it was more of a dual meaning. One, a cipher it's usually related to encryption and code breaking. So in one respect, it was keeping us secure, keeping us safe, and then in another respect, it ended up being a a kind of a metaphor for what we were bringing to the average Canadians in our space, because nobody else was doing that, which is deciphering the government language and bills, and essentially dropping the veil of how government worked and educating Canadians. And we unintentionally fell into that as being our niche. And that was what distinguished us from literally everybody else, is we brought a level of research and a level of knowledge to the space that frankly nobody else had.
Understood. And I know from your saying you do it so well, of course, but part of your story is you got discovered by your employers. I wonder if you want to talk about what happened there.
Yeah, it was always something that was on my mind, but I never felt I would say guilty for what we were doing. It was just, when I was at work, I was 100% all in doing what I needed to do for work. My performance reflected that. My employees reflected that. I had a phenomenal team under me at the agency I was at. We completely transformed the IT department into, I would say, one of, if not the top performing IT departments in the category of small department agencies in the federal government, to the point where my boss, the president, nominated me for a security award for accomplishments in IT security, and I ended up being runner-up to somebody in the RCMP. And I joke about it and saying, if I'm going to be runner-up, I don't mind losing to the RCMP. So, but the irony is, when we started covering committee, that's when I think we really started to draw in a unique audience, and we started to gain the attention of even the members of parliament, because they started getting emails from people that they wouldn't otherwise. And they started hearing about these clips, and they started hearing about this channel that was hosting these late night 4 or 5 hour live streams that people were watching as if they were watching a sporting event, to two random people that nobody knows who they are giving accurate color commentary of what's happening in committee. So we really started following the ArriveCan investigation that the Conservatives were bringing at the OGO committee, public accounts, and ethics committees. And we brought so much attention to that the government started to get very concerned as to how much negative response Canadians were actually providing to them as a result of these contractors double dipping, one hand in the government and one hand into the contracts that they were getting from the government. So in June of 2024, a directive was sent out that all employees had to disclose their side income.
I think it was May, if I can just correct you.
Sorry. It was actually March of 2024 where that directive was out. And put it this way, long story short, I'm no longer working for the government, and I'm still doing Northern Perspective. So that's that basically tells the story of what happens when a random government employee is running a podcast.
Well, and I just want to cut in and say, if I can add, that All of the work that we did on Northern Perspective was on our own time. It was always after hours. It was after Vincent went to sleep. So we would start at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh.
Sometimes we wouldn't finish until 11 o'clock or sometimes midnight. And it was done on our own equipment. And none of the information that we were providing was like government secrets or anything that Ryan had learned on the job. It was all things that were readily available to the public that people could go and learn for themselves. We were just finding it and telling the audience about it.
Well, and that's something I took very seriously. Being a public servant, knowing that I was getting paid with taxpayer dollars in some way, shape, or form, I took that very seriously, and I didn't want to take advantage of that at all, because we were literally criticizing the government for misspending taxpayer money. And I wanted to make sure that I was respecting that. So as I said before, when I was on company time, it had 100% of my effort and 100% of my time. And if I ended up getting a call at 8 or 9 at night, we would stop what we were doing with Northern Perspective, and I was on call, and off we went. And that did happen from time to time. But it is what it is.
But what you're saying is you did your job, you did it properly, you were awarded for the work that you did. It was well after your time as employees for the day and the time that you spent as parents. And then you went on camera. So far, I don't see a problem with that. And yet, you were relieved of duty, so to speak, by your employers, our government.